For being such an amazing round, the 40 Smith & Wesson gets really a lot of hate, and I am certain to know why. It's because you're all looking at it wrong. Maybe not all of you, but most of you, because anytime I see any sort of hate on the 40 Smith & Wesson, it's usually because they're comparing it to something like a 9mm. They'll shoot a certain gun that shoots a 9mm out of it, and then they'll shoot the 40 Smith & Wesson and think, boy, I don't like that nearly as much as I like the 9mm. And I get it, totally get it. But the problem is you're comparing it to the 9mm. Because there's another caliber that hits a lot harder than a 40 Smith & Wesson that is growing and growing and growing in incredible degrees, is the 10mm. And people love the 10mm because they're looking at the 10mm for what it is. It's a 10mm. I mean, if you have a 10mm handgun, you can kill anything that walks in North America with that thing. It's a great round. So people will carry a gun shooting a 10mm thinking to themselves, well, this makes sense to me. But the problem is that a 40 Smith & Wesson is really just a 10mm short. It is. That's pretty much what it is. So if you were to compare a 40 Smith & Wesson to a 10mm, I think you'd look at it very differently, very, very differently, because that's really a better comparison. More so, the benefit that you're going to get out of the 40 Smith & Wesson compared to the 10mm is most people that make the popular lines of 9mm handguns also make them in 40 Smith & Wesson. They don't necessarily also make them in 10mm. So it's really, if you like the 10mm, I'm going to recommend you start to look at the 40 Smith & Wesson in a very different way, because it is a very different bullet. It's a very carryable 10mm, so to say, because, most 10mm handguns, they're not necessarily very carryable. Definitely not as carryable as a lot of the 9mm out there. And that's really kind of my point, is there's a lot of 40 Smith & Wessons carryable like those 9mm. And if you look at the 40 Smith & Wesson like a 10mm, it suddenly becomes extremely carryable. A great option. And I believe that's really why there's a lot of hate on it, is because people are like, well, it's not nearly as smooth as shooting as a 9mm. No, it's not. But it's definitely a little smoother than a 10mm. And you can get it in way more carryable options. And I think as soon as you look at it like it's a 10mm short, now what does this particular caliber have to offer me? I think you're going to see it has the opportunity to offer you a wealth of carrying options that's going to pack a big punch. There's a reason why a lot of cops around this country carry a 40 Smith & Wesson. It's a pretty powerful round. It's a great round. It's a 10mm short, and a 10mm take down any animal in North America. 40 Smith & Wesson's not that far behind it. So there you go, man. That's my thoughts. I think a lot of the hate that goes towards the 40 Smith & Wesson is really just an illogical comparison. And you have to really compare it to what it actually is. It's a comparison with the 10mm is a better comparison. And you have a lot more carryable options. So love to know your thoughts on that. I'm not asking you to love a 40 Smith & Wesson. Maybe 9mm for you. Maybe a 10's for you. I'm just saying, I think if you look at it as a 10mm short that has a lot of carrying options like a 9mm, pretty fantastic option. Any thoughts or insight on any of that? Definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment and say most people watch this channel, not subscribers. Click that subscribe button. Greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns. As many of you may or may not know, about a year ago, I was dealing with a very serious heart condition. And through some procedures and a dramatic change in my lifestyle, I've found my way to a whole different level of health. And one aspect of that, and it's something that I believe is extremely important to talk about because Americans are not talking about it. I've really never heard anybody talk about it, to be quite honest, is the health benefits from the super hot peppers like a Trinidad scorpion pepper, because that has been one aspect of what I have done over the last year. Is a friend of mine who lost 110 pounds in 7 months just drinking a drink that he made with Trinidad scorpion peppers. I've been doing that as well. I saw how it changed him. I wanted in on that. And what it has done is it's been one aspect of it. Of course, diet, exercise, that sort of thing is very important as well. But what this has done is not just allow me to lose weight, but I sleep better. I have a better outlook on life. I was actually having lunch with the guy that makes this the other day, and his brother committed suicide. He was dealing with addiction, he was dealing with depression, and he committed suicide. And my friend believes wholeheartedly, had he invented this drink before that, he would be alive today. And I kind of question that, like, well, that's a big statement to make. But ultimately what he's claiming is the capsaicins in those super hot peppers really satisfy your pituitary gland, which is the basis of addiction. And if you watch Johnny Schofield on YouTube, check him out. But he's fought addiction, and now he's addicted to hot peppers instead because it satisfies that same desire. So I think it's important to talk about better outlook in life, sleep better, lose weight, fight addiction. The link's below. Check it out. Just drinking Trinidad scorpion peppers, and it is hot. I'll give you a little warning, but he's taken out the binding agents that, so when it's hot, it's only hot for like a minute or two. It doesn't burn for hours. So there you go, man. I couldn't put down Trinidad scorpion peppers. This is how I do it. That link is below.